We are live.
Live.
And alive. And there's a Willow poster. I remembered to do that.
Good job. Man, you changed the stream info?
I did.
Look at you.
It's almost dangerously close to I might know what I'm doing.
So
I should.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
No,
You're gonna.
it's not important. Go ahead.
Mine's not
I'm gonna
important
change
either.
the topic. All right.
Well,
I'm gonna try and stream that week before Christmas that I'm off. I'm gonna try and swipe. We gotta cut some holiday fabric at work, some of her out of print holiday fabric, and I'm gonna try and swipe the scraps, and we're gonna make ornaments out of it.
Ooh.
Good.
Crafty times. That'll be fun.
Crafty times.
I am going to be streaming for 2 hours during the Diamond Club 27-hour streamathon on New Year's Eve.
Nice.
September messaged me last night asking if I would be interested in doing it because she can't.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'd be interested in doing it. And then I get, someone gets in touch with me, and I was like, sure. So I'm going to be doing, it's early. I'm doing like 10:30 to 12:30 a.m.
Nice.
So
that's my kind of time slot.
Like I can get up in the morning, I can do 2-hour stream, and then just kind of chill for the rest of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
What are you going to do? Do you know?
I don't know yet, although Ren Agu is the hour slot right before me. And I'll talk to him a little bit more because he talked about maybe doing some kind of Forza racing. And I was like, well, I'm the slot right after you, so we could just kind of meld those 2 hours together too.
Yeah.
And then either I can do for the second hour or I can think of something else to do for the last hour. But just got to decide what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right, make sure you can hear.
Am I drinking paint?
Yes.
I will go based off of your reaction that you could hear that, which is good.
A palace for you to poop in.
So everyone needs a palace to poop in every once in a while.
Yeah. That's what the Hotel at Adepticon is like, because there's a TV in the mirror.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. So let's see. So everything should be in order. You sound good. You're coming through loud and clear, as you always do. The googly eyes, still great.
Very good. On point.
On point. All right. In that case, then, I see no reason to delay any further.
Let us do a show, Trav.
Let's do a show. And we are going to get started in 3, 2, 1.
Elora Danan must survive. She must fulfill her destiny and bring about the downfall of Queen Bavmorda, whose powers are growing like an evil plague. Unless she is stopped, Bavmorda will control the lives of your village, your children, everyone.
Okay, let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode 196, and our movie this week is 1988 fantasy epic Willow. Here to talk with me about it, she hadn't seen it, although started watching the series, it's Amy Frost. Amy, how you doing?
I'm good. Well, so see, the thing is, up until recently, I kind of thought I had. And then I did start watching the series.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing all the little flashbacks to the movie and a lot of the, remember when this happened? And I went, no, I categorically do not actually remember that. And then, so then when I told you that and you were like, hey, let's come on the show and we'll talk about Willow, I did for like a brief moment worry that like maybe I had.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I actually did. And then I watched the movie and said, no, I have never seen this movie before. Fantastic.
Okay, so the fact that you thought you had seen it and had not tells me that this is a type of movie that young Amy would have enjoyed, or at least the thought of watching this movie young Amy would have liked. Does that seem accurate?
totally. And I had this weird blind spot as a kid.
Mhm.
Like there's like this small subset of movies that I didn't see as a kid that like I probably should have. Like I didn't see Labyrinth or Dark Crystal till I was in high school, even though we were like a massive Muppet house. Like somehow that just never happened. And Labyrinth holds up a lot better than Dark Crystal does, but that's fine. And so I feel like Willow kind of like falls into that, right? Like it slips right in with those two. So like obviously I've seen Willow. Surely
Sure.
I've seen Willow. No.
Well, apparently not. So, Willow, 1988, story by George Lucas, directed by Ron Howard. The script was not written by George Lucas, which is to this movie's benefit. And
It is, but I didn't expect it to feel quite so Star Wars, and yet it does.
So
Surprisingly so.
yeah, so he wrote this. He came up with this idea for something along these lines. He says back in the early 70s, sort of when he was coming up with ideas for things like Star Wars and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
But he wrote the story for this apparently after meeting Warwick Davis when they were making Return of the Jedi. And
I love the story about Warwick being Wicket and that he took all of Wicket's movements and mannerisms from his dog.
mm-hmm.
Very good.
Very good. And so George Lucas writes a story, and he wants to produce it. So this is what Lucas is good at. Lucas is good at coming up with an idea,
Yes.
and a world that this idea can live in. But he's better off leaving the actual dialogue to other people. As well as I feel the directing to other people. Like producing, he's great at. And he's a good idea man. He's got lots of great kind of thoughts running through his head about stuff like that. It was the nuts and bolts directing and the screenwriting that I never was very impressed with him. Even back in my younger days, I always thought that. So
They were fine. Like fine.
it's fine, but like the dialogue would always be stilted. And, it's the classic, nobody actually talks like that, which is true. Like nobody forms sentences in that way. So, but then you have Ron Howard, who isn't exactly a new director at this point, but he's still fairly young. It's early in his career.
Right.
He's coming off of Cocoon was his big hit a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a really good match, I feel like, with George Lucas, Ron Howard, and then it's a pretty nice cast as well.
Yeah.
And it's a fun little fantasy thing that I want to talk about some of this world that they built. But I think my first question is, it sounds like you didn't hate it. So
No, I enjoyed it. I do take umbrage with you calling it little, though, because it is 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I do feel like it maybe didn't need to be. We could have pillaged one fewer villages and gotten through the story maybe a little faster.
you're not wrong there, but it's also like at the same time, the pacing is such that it moves along decently, and it feels like this feels like it needs to be a series. So the fact that they did a sequel to it as a series, I think works better.
Is very smart. Very smart. Because, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like, when you do a fantasy epic, you are trying to cram an awful lot of information in a very small space.
Yes.
And so unless you're just going to, like, use all the cliff notes of, like, here, it's King Arthur, or it's, Oops, All Dragons, whatever. Like, unless you've got built-in shortcuts for the audience, you've got to explain an awful lot of stuff, and that can be a lot.
Well, and here's one of the things I think that this movie does really well is that it doesn't fall into the trap of explain everything, give us a ton of exposition about the world, about the backstory of it. It just throws us into this story, and we can kind of infer everything from it. And I think it's smart in that way, because we don't need a character telling us that, the Nelwyn have problems with the bigger folk. We just get that based on the interactions. And I love things like you've got the Nelwyn and the Daikini, And we don't have any background of where these names come from. They're just like
No.
Lucas pulling names out of a hat because that's what he does.
Sure.
But the first time they run into Mad Mardigan, who is the first Daikini that they see, and he's calling them Peck.
He's immediately dropping the slurs.
He is. But what I like about that is you learn so much about this world and so much about this character from those couple of lines. You immediately know that he's a dickhead, and he looks down on at least these little guys, if not everybody.
Right.
That the Nelwyn are not only do they have a pejorative term for them, but it's used pretty openly. But they don't seem to get like super upset by it either. Like they don't want to be.
I mean,
they like
yeah, but like, what are they gonna do? Is what it comes down to. At some point, there's not a lot they can do about it.
no. But I also like that we don't dwell on like there doesn't have to be
No.
a scene where we are told that it's a terrible thing to hear being called a peck. It's just what happened. And so like I like that because that's something that I feel like a lot of stories spend too much time on. In a book, I get it. You've got the time and sort of the pages to be able to flesh that out and talk about it. But in something like this, just get to it and let the audience figure things out. Because at first, all we know is that Mad Mardigan says it. But then the next people and the next people and the next people. So now it's like, okay, so these Nelwyn are just treated like crap by everybody.
Right.
So that, again, tells us and informs us a lot about this world. So I love stuff like that. I like that kind of world building where you can just build it into the interactions with the people instead of having to just, you don't have to signpost everything. You can just write it. It's actually clever writing to do it that way.
Yeah.
I feel.
And I mean, it works because we're following it basically through Willow, right? Like he's our dude on the inside. And like he doesn't know a ton about how he knows how his little bubble works.
Yeah.
And he has like a vague knowledge of everything else, and that's all we need. And so that works great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I enjoy that. I like how we start off, we meet Willow and his family, and then we find out that, oh, well, he's kind of not super respected in his own village.
Yeah.
By most people except for Billy Barty.
Yep.
The what is the High Aldwin, I think is what he was known as.
Something like that. Yeah.
He's Billy Barty. It's just Gwildor without as much makeup, which I'm fine with. Like, don't have a problem with that at all.
Nope.
And so then to have that branch out and to see like he is your classic underdog of a hero. He's got the courage, but he doesn't have like he has the desire to do the good thing, but sometimes lacks the self-confidence to like go through with it. And so what you end up finding is in a lot of the situations he's hiding, and kind of waiting things out, which makes perfect sense given the Nelwyn probably did that a lot. Like just hide, get out of the way, let things let everyone else beat the crap out of each other,
no
and then
need
exactly.
To be part of this.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's a great. I also like a movie that tells a very simple story.
Yeah.
And then let the world be interesting and more nuanced. We don't need a complex plot. Baby's born, part of a prophecy. Evil queen wants to kill the baby. All right, that's all I need, because now I have perfectly legitimate reason to hate this evil queen because she wants to kill a literal infant, and for the crime of being born because of a prophecy. So that's it's simplify all of that, and then just get to the story and let the adventure kind of take you. And yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in that they could have trimmed down. I guess they trimmed a good bit. There was more to this movie initially. But I understand that like something like this, like a fantasy movie or a sci-fi movie that's really trying to build the world that they're in, that'll happen.
Yeah.
You're going to start off big and you have to pare it down. Unless you're coming from an established property that everyone kind of already knows. So I understand that, but I just liked it's a very simple adventure story, and we get fun characters, and Warwick Davis just carries this movie.
18.
17 when they were filming.
It's madness.
It's
Just a kid.
He was 7 and 10 years older than the kids playing his children in the movie.
Who are also his children in the series, and this delights me.
Oh, they are adorable.
So cute. Oh God, Mims is like the cutest thing in the world. She's just adorable.
She's great. And then and now his wife, I read, was not back in the series, Kaya.
No, she's not. But she wasn't really an actress to begin with. Like,
No,
this
not
was
really.
kind
She'd
of
done
one of the few things she did. She was a secretary.
Yeah, she did
gave it a
this.
shot.
She was in Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader,
Yep.
the BBC version from '89,
My
also
favorite
with
version.
Warwick Davis.
Yes,
Um,
those are the best versions of those.
I do very much
of
enjoy
books,
those,
BBC
and
ones.
I think it's
Mhm.
because that's what I grew up watching.
Yep.
Like when I watched a version of it, it was that one. She was quite a bit older than him. I think. I can't think of her. Why can't I remember her name? Julie Peters was in probably her early 40s at the time too. So she's
Yeah.
quite a bit older than him now, you know. So they didn't bring her back. But I what I liked was I liked our hero in the story is a humble family man.
Yep.
So he has something to come home to, but he's also like, you get the trope of, he's sort of put upon a little bit, like when the kids find the baby and he's like, no, we can't do anything. Like you kind of learn so much about Willow from those first couple of scenes where he just wants to sort of fly under the radar and do his farming, and that's it. So like the kids find the baby and they want to keep the baby. He's like, no, we can't keep the baby. And then as soon as Kaya sees it, it's over. He has no say in the matter anymore.
No.
Even down to like his whole, I will not be ignored, as they're all walking away from him, ignoring him. But they try to hide the baby for like a day and then realize that's not going to work when the crazy animal creatures come flying into the village.
The very good boys in costumes who are very excited to be in costumes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they were, I guess, Rottweilers. And they put those masks on them. And so that's another thing that I liked about this movie. I want to try and stay on track, but like the look of it was really good.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's got, again, simple story, interesting characters, even if they're tropey characters, but at the same time, it works.
Right.
And then they really focused on making this look good, I think, especially given the time. We'll talk about effects and things like that later, but yeah, I enjoyed all that. Did you have kind of a favorite portion of the movie? Did you sort of like the beginning a little bit more, or when they started getting into some of the action? Because it definitely has like 3 acts, very distinct.
It does. I think, I don't know. I mean, I like the whole thing. I think I probably liked the beginning act the best. I thought the end, especially the final fight, got a little. I liked how I liked the twist in the final fight, but it did go on for a little while.
It's a little
I was like,
long.
we can. That baby was damp for so long, and I had a lot of questions.
I will say though, I like that the final fight of the film is 2 elderly women duking it out over a wand.
And it's got my favorite thing, which is the using magic will age you.
Yep.
That's always a good one.
Oh yeah. But they're fighting it out, and then at one point, what's her name? Raziel just decides, screw this, and starts punching her in the face.
And punches her. I was psyched. I was so psyched when that happens. I was like, Grandma fights 1988. Let's go.
Let's do
This
this.
is great.
And so it's Raziel and Queen Bavmorda having their fight at the end, and then Willow kind of comes out on top. But again, this is a thing I kind of referenced already, but like Willow just sort of waiting it out. Like, nah, Raziel's got this. I'm good. I'll wait.
He could have been gone.
Oh yeah.
He could have been home before that fight ended. He had some real Hamlet energy going on in that scene, and I was just like, pick up the baby, go, just
Yeah.
walk out the
Just-
door.
Just
They
get,
are busy.
they're not
just
even going to
go.
notice. They're not going to see a thing. Bav
Nope.
Morda is too busy. Yeah, I very much enjoyed the opening to this because there's just so much like heart in this little community, and just sort of that. I love stuff like that. That's why I love the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring for the same reason. We're in the Shire.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's quaint, it's homey, it's fun, but you're learning so much about your main character at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the beginning of the movie also had Tony Cox and what's his name, David Steinberg as Migosh, Phil Fondacaro as Voknar, Vonkar. So like I love seeing them because I didn't plan to have Tony Cox in movies back to back, but I watched Bad Santa last week, and he's in that. So just sort of worked out that way. But it was fun. It was a cool little village. You get to see like they're having this festival, and then Billy Barty's character just shows up. And what I liked about him is, again, sort of spinning off of like Gwildor, is he is clearly the sorcerer. And this is a world where magic exists, and magic is, I don't want to say commonplace, but it doesn't like blow people's minds to see magic done, but not everybody can do it. And yet the High Aldwin is still kind of a little bit of a bullshit artist. Like, and I love that kind of stuff. Like I love that when the supposedly wise mystic person is also just kind of like, yeah, but at the same time, we're going to fudge this role a little bit. Like he reads the bones. And the bones don't tell me anything. Do you love this kid or what? Like, throw me a bone here. Give me something to work with. Yeah. Which leads me to think that the bones are never a thing. He just does that for the theatrics of it. And I loved it. There is a movie from 2005, 2006 called The Last Legion. It's an Italian, in English speaking, but it's like a Dino De Laurentiis type Italian production, telling the story of the last legion from the Roman Empire. And there's a legionnaire who's taking a kid who is he is destined to become Caesar, but he's got to get out because the Goths are sacking Rome. And so they take the kid and his teacher and a few people, and they head to Britannia, and they go find the last legion in Britannia. And what it is the whole movie is a setup for Uther Pendragon and the pre-Arthurian legend. But in that, Ben Kingsley plays the movie's version of Merlin. Yeah. And he's not really a magician, but he always sets himself up to look like one. Like at one point there's a big battle going on, and he's standing on the castle, and he's pointing, and then big fireballs go flying around, and he's just lined himself up with where the catapults are. Perfect. So when he points, the catapult fires, and it looks like he's sending a fireball. Like I love that. So seeing that with the High Aldwin, and the setup that we got with Willow doing just magic tricks was a great callback.
So good. So good. His magic tricks and the pig trick was very good, and I did yell at my television at one point at the end. Oh my God, the pig trick.
At what point did you figure out what was going on?
It was when when he started walking towards the queen with the baby. And it was just the way he was holding it, and I was like, oh my God, the pig trick.
And it's set up so well because he has to dive out of the way to hide for a second. So if you're watching that scene, it's like, no, he's just hiding, and then he comes out from behind there. But no, he totally pulled the switcheroo on her, and it's like brilliant. It's so, and it was, we were told it's that great callback from Act 1. Yep. I love that. He beats her with magic tricks, and she's like, there's where magic blows somebody's mind, because she can't fathom how he did that. She has no clue. It's brilliant. I loved it so much. This is a fun movie. So you like the beginning, but you like the whole movie. Did you have a favorite outside of Willow? We'll take Willow out of the running. Did you have a favorite
Okay.
character aside from Willow?
I mean, they're all good. I mean, Rule and Franjon, the brownies, were very good. I was very surprised at Kevin Pollak. I was like, wait, hang on.
So
Wait, hold on.
I adore Kevin Pollak. I have for a long time. He's hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny because I have a note here to myself that was just, the brownies are so dumb, but I don't hate them. They're awesome.
No, they are very sure of their place, which works because brownies are fey, like that. You know what I mean? Like that's if fey or anything, it's confident.
Yes.
But yeah, no, they were so good the whole time. The like, yeah, we're here. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. Congratulations, you're safe. Like,
Just
or like, we have to go. Like when they take them away from that like rundown village,
mhm.
and they're like, well, we'll never catch the horses. Then we'll have to track them. I said, do you want to go home? No, this is more interesting.
like just brimming with confidence,
Yeah.
almost utterly useless. Like the only thing they do,
Yeah.
the only thing they really do is get Mad Mardigan to fall for Sorsha with the
Yeah, and
dust
that
of
was
a broken
mostly
heart.
by accident.
It was. And that was the trope of the item only works when you want it to, because they've set up the dust of broken hearts, which why they had that I don't even know, but sure, why not? It's fine.
Why not?
And they set that up when Rule gets it dusted on him and then he falls for the cat,
Falls for the cat.
which is awesome. But then when it happens to Mad Mardigan, like, because with Rule, it's literally the first thing he sees is the cat, and he
Right.
falls in love. And with Mad Mardigan, he sees Willow, the brownies, like 3 or 4 other people before he finally sees Sorsha, and then he falls for Sorsha.
Now, they were all dudes.
But we don't know if that cat was female or not.
We
So-
don't know, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know.
Okay,
But it
fair.
could have been.
Yeah. I just
I don't know.
it made me chuckle because I was like, okay,
Oh yeah.
you know, it's fine. That's that trope, but it also led to some funny moments. And
Oh really? Yeah.
so if I have I have complaints about the movie's not perfect, and I do think one of the problems is that Sorsha is kind of underdeveloped.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be more to do with her and her father being the king at the end,
Mm-hmm.
and that was part of her turn, was like somehow reconnecting with her father and seeing what was going on, that the queen was causing problems. But it just feels like she sort of decided, all right, I guess I'm just going to switch sides.
Yeah. I mean, Vigo had his shirt all the way open, and she went, I mean, Val had his shirt all the way open, and she went, yeah, that'll do. That's fine.
I mean, I don't
Let's
blame
just
her,
go.
but
I mean, it's fine.
you know, it's 1987 Val Kilmer. So
I do like that because they like arrested him in his like tattered dress
Mhm.
there after he had girded his loins. And then they were like, well, clearly we're going to clothe him because he's a prisoner. So let's give him the hottest outfit we have.
yeah,
No buttons, though.
no,
Don't
not
even worry about it.
not a
He
button to
doesn't-
be found.
He doesn't need them.
So Mad Mardigan is obviously your Han Solo character.
He's Han Duo. Like he is just he is just like he's so hard. There was that, and then the chariot fight thing. I was like, this is the speeder bike race. Like this is the speeder bikes through the trees. Like this is the same scene.
It's the speeder bikes through the trees, and it's Indiana
'Cause
Jones
they
getting
break,
dragged
and I
by
was
the
like,
truck.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
just the
that
same thing.
done again. No, for sure.
Yep.
No, you got, because like the random thing shows up for the young farm boy, and then he has to
Yep.
go on his adventure, and he
Well.
meets a scoundrel, and you know they have their adventures.
The brownies did manage to steal the baby.
They did. They did, and that was
Again, another fantasy epic where things could have been moved along if the Eagles had shown up again.
oh, I loved that though. Like they needed a
real good.
reason. They needed a reason to bring things back together. So of course they steal the baby. That gets Willow's attention, and then I just love how they run into him later, and you slowly. The thing with Mad Mardigan is he's definitely the scoundrel with a heart of gold, because his facade starts to break fairly quickly when they find him again.
Yeah.
And they talk about having to go to the lake or whatever, and he's like, "Wait, you're to the that's where I'm going." Like he wasn't actually going that way. He totally wasn't, but he decided that he's going to help them. So I dug that, but like he keeps coming up with these excuses to do things, which is why it's great when they get to that castle and he goes into the room and it's just full of all the armaments and everything, and he sees the armor and you just watch his face light up. He's like, "I get to wear the armor again."
I got the armor.
And he rocked that armor. I tell you what. But yeah, I love the brownies. They're so dumb
good.
and they're so good. Like
It's so easy for the like comedy sidekick to just go too far or too much, and like I don't feel like they did.
No,
I mean a lot of the times when it was like some of the action started to be a little, and then they'd roll in and I'll be like, all right, I'm back in it. Great.
And the thing is, like, I know people that I've talked to in the past that didn't like the brownies because they felt like it was too much comic relief, but I feel as though they struck a good balance to it. I think my only complaint about the brownies has nothing to do with the way they're written. It's simply that they didn't have the technology that footage hasn't aged as well as some other things because it's blue screen composited in. But what they did for the time looks really good. They did a great job.
It looked real good. I was impressed, in fact.
I mean,
because I did go into it like in the mindset of this is 1988. Like I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like I thought it looked great.
Again,
there's like one part where when they're doing the Gulliver's Travels thing and they've got them tied up, and one of them is like jumping up and down on top of Willow, and I was like, okay, maybe we should have skipped that one.
Yeah,
like, that one wasn't great.
Or when they're trying to cut the one rope off of them, you can see clearly. Yeah. But that's just a limitation of the blue screen technology they had to composite that in. No, what they had looked good. All I'm saying is that comparing it to what they could do today, obviously today they could do that better. But it was ILM working on this, and they did so much with interaction with the brownies. You know, hiding under a helmet, and then the helmet flips over because they lifted it off. Like that looked really good. So I really enjoyed that, and I just like the brownies. And the thing was, other composites like the fairies that were in the forest, the one that comes up and kind of smooches his nose and all that, those look better. And I think it's because you've got an object on a black background, and so there's nothing behind it you have to worry about it compositing with, just black. And then it's also kind of generating its own light source. So like that's an easier thing.
So they've already got like fuzzy edges.
Yeah. So that's
not so worried about that either.
That's easier to do, but like the blue screening that they did, I thought looked really good. The morphing technology that they used, that was developed by ILM for this movie. They were contemplating between doing like stop motion or something else. I don't remember what the other. I think it was just optical effects in camera. And Dennis Muren was like, these are both kind of tough. And so they had one of their guys start writing software, and it would do the morphing and then put it back out to film, so they could shoot the film of the different animals and then pop it into the computer, do the morph, and put it back out and finished film. And that stuff looked great. Yeah, all of that, even the troll when it morphs into the pile of, it was really gross.
That was gross.
But
I did like
it looked good.
I did like that, like there was a lot of setup in that very beginning, right? Like before Willow leaves the farm.
Oh.
Right? Because it's like, well, but what about brownies and trolls and dragons? And I'm just like there with my check boxes, like, okay, all right. Yes, very good. Excellent. We've got them all.
But that's a
They have
way.
Chekhov's acorns.
Yeah, but there again, that comes kind of back to what I was talking about with the clever writing of this.
Yeah.
Is that's a great way to integrate that in a conversation that feels normal. The kids, his kids,
Oh, sure.
probably have never left that village, so they've heard all these stories, and now their dad is
Yeah.
leaving the village, so it makes perfect sense for the kid. It doesn't feel forced to bring those
No,
things
no.
up, and I like that. That's what makes.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's what makes this movie work more so than many other fantasy movies, especially of that era. Stuff like Dragon Slayer was one, which is great. They're not bad movies, but I feel like the writing in this just worked a little bit better for me because of things like that and sort of that world building. And even something as simple as Mad Mardigan referring to Willow as a Nelwyn that one time where he says, I'm with the Nelwyn. Like, because there again, that tells you so much about what's happening in that scene in just a couple of words. That's,
Right.
to me, a good execution of a moment. So I like that. So yeah, the brownies. The brownies are great. Rule and what is it? Frangine. Rule getting drunk on beer, falling into the pint of beer, and then being drunk for the rest
I know
of
they said it
things.
was beer, but then it was all apples everywhere. And I was like, that's probably cider, guys.
I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah, probably, but
Mm.
maybe he only knows the word beer.
He might.
I mean, it is a
He was
brownie.
real good. I liked when they pick him up off the ground and he's like, tell them to stop the cart.
Yes. It's,
Okay.
Look, it's Kevin Pollak. I mean, he
So funny.
cracks me up, and I didn't even it didn't even bother me the way they would pitch their voice way up.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me at all. Made
That's
perfect
fine.
sense. But just Kevin Pollak and everything. I just watched not that long ago because it was leaving Tubi TV, and for some reason I had this weird I'm just gonna watch End of Days because
Yeah, all right.
I'm bored. And I watched End of Days, and he's in that, and you can tell he ad-libbed everything he said in that movie because it's just him riffing off of Arnold all the time.
Yeah.
So, my favorite performance of his is still as Hockney in The Usual Suspects.
Sure.
He has some of the best one-liners in that. I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the brownies are great. I mentioned Billy Barty because Billy Barty is just fun. He's just crazy. Also, what's his name? Kenny Baker is in the background of One Shot.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's one of the musicians.
I did I was trying to look, right? I was like, because I mean, this is, there's plenty of Little People actors from that time. And I'm like, I know
Yeah.
that every one of them is in this, right?
Basically, what was it? Warwick Davis said that the casting call was something like 225 to 240 Little People. It was one of the biggest. It was the biggest casting call to date when they made this, and I loved that. And I was doing the same thing. I was looking. That's why I was like, oh, there's I saw names popping up in the opening credits because I haven't watched this in a while, so I forget sometimes some of the smaller, the side roles or the blink and you miss it cameos. The rumor is that Peter Dinklage is somewhere in the background, but he's not credited anywhere.
Right.
So who knows? He would have been about the same age, about 17 at the time that this was made.
Yeah.
Also, where's his name? He played Burglecut.
So
Again,
I
good name.
kept thinking I knew him from something else. And then it must be something uncredited because I went through his IMDb and I was like, I've seen none of this. It's none of this.
Mark
Because it's not a ton.
Northover.
Yeah.
And
Excellent name.
yes, very much. And no, I'm the same way. I feel like I know him from something, but it's maybe just from having watched this. Because you're right, he doesn't have a lot of credits.
Wondering. I'm wondering if he's uncredited in something, and so that's why I recognize him.
Could be.
Some crowd scene somewhere.
The gag of little baby Alora throwing up on him.
So that was funny.
I know you're not
Because-
big on the pukes.
I'm not, but babies is different.
Mhm.
because that's when I lose interest in babies, when it goes from spit up to throw up. So, um, it's funny because in the series, and this is not a spoiler,
Sure.
they're in a carriage ride, and she throws up on Willow, and I was like, this feels gratuitous. And then I watched this and I was like, oh, okay, I'm now okay with it. This is fine.
So the
But you can
story,
tell.
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, you can tell that Burgle Cut doesn't have any kids,
Yes.
because anyone with kids would never pick a baby up like that, because that's exactly what happens when you do.
So the story goes, and I don't know how much validity there is to this, but the story goes that that was not written in the script, that happened because Warwick Davis has kind of a limp, and they had the baby in that pack, and so the baby got motion sickness, and then when it got picked up, threw up. So I don't know how true that is, but I did see an interview where Warwick Davis did say that at the time he thought it was kind of a bit much and sort of silly, but then after he became a dad, it made perfect sense to him.
He was like, oh no, actually, this is accurate.
So, so there, I take that piece of trivia with a grain of salt, but it does also kind of feel like something that maybe could have happened, and you just, even if the exact moment wasn't what we saw on film, that maybe happened, and then they're like, no, well, okay, let's go with that. We'll do that again.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I do like too that Burgle Cut gets puked on by the baby and gets pooped on by the bird at the end.
By the bird at the end.
So
Because he's in charge.
he is, oh yeah, and he'll let you
He's the
know.
leader. Yeah.
Every village has to have that idiot.
Yep.
And because that was one of the things is they get to that crossroads and they sit there for like a night. And then the next day he's just like, well, we're done here. We're going to go. Come on, everybody. And he forces everybody to leave with him. And
I mean, the plan was take the baby to the crossroads. Now, if I'd been Willow, I'd have taken that little campfire and just lit it under Mad Mardigan's cage. He would have no longer been a problem, because he was not a nice man for a little while there.
he
And
wasn't.
I feel like he was not in a position to not be very nice.
No, but I also feel like that's what got him in that position in the first place was acting that way.
That is good when Eric shows up and he's like, what'd you do to get in there? Nothing you wouldn't have done in my position.
Yeah, that was another one where there was more backstory to that he was a knight in some army and then deserted for reasons, and that was part of what got him in the crow's cage. So it's hard to say, but I liked Eric, and I liked that he kept popping up. Like, it's obviously not a ton of ground being covered because they keep running into this guy everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I don't have a problem with that because they didn't tell us. They never gave us an idea of scale of how far anything was, which is kind of smart because then you can't out-logic
And it makes sense, too, because distances are going to seem vastly different to Mad Mardigan than they are to Willow or the Brownies. Like,
yeah,
distances don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter a number because it's a very individual thing in that sort of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And it very much has, I mean, there's just a scale thing going on.
It's like Texas close versus New England close.
There you go.
Like,
yes.
those are very different numbers.
Yep. Somebody who, like you that grows up in Massachusetts, close means a whole different thing than Texas, where it could be like, no, that's a full day's drive, but that's close. Like you can make it there the same calendar day.
Yeah. Yes.
I had memory that Migosh stuck with him for longer for some reason, and I don't know why. Because it makes sense. Is he?
They meet back up.
Oh, that's good.
It's real good.
Is it David Steinberg?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Because I did read that they brought most everybody back that they could.
Yeah, that they could.
And even Val Kilmer was supposed to be in the series right up until like the last minute, and then they ended up. I just, for whatever reason, I had this memory that Migosh was around longer, but it makes sense that things went the way they did, and Willow, being Willow, is like, no, go home. I'll do this.
Yeah,
like this is my thing. Because that is Willow. He has that big heart.
Plus, he knows that if anything happens to him, there will be someone to take care of his wife and kids.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's that part of it too, right?
Mm-hmm. And they've just met, the elf, what is it, like elf or fairy queen, and all the fairies and the brownies and everything like that. And it's like, that's a lot. That's a lot to happen.
That was the only part that I couldn't, like, it's okay, it's 1988 my way through. I did laugh about it a little bit. Like, it was a bit much. Like, it's fine. Just the big glowy face and just, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. We need this. This is exposition. It's important.
It's really it's kind of the only moment of just like, hey, here's a bunch of plot we're going to dump on you at once.
Yeah.
Like, everything else seems to happen in context here or there.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's the moment where, at the beginning with the queen, going to where the baby's being born.
Yeah.
And they, like, shuffle the baby out in the laundry. It's the world's quietest infant.
It's new. It's very tired.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been through a lot already.
Yeah.
And then you get the moment where she moses the baby down the stream because she knows the very good boys are coming.
The hounds are coming. The very good boys.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that this movie has, this movie came out in 1988. It's rated PG, not PG-13, PG.
Okay.
And it has that thing that you brought up already, Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, which are also kids movies or aimed at younger audience and rated PG.
Right.
It does that thing that 80s PG films could get away with, which is be a little bit scary for kids.
I mean, so like let's look at it for a second, right? Because PG is parental guidance. So it is like up to you to watch the movie and go, yes, my child will be into this. This is fine. And I feel like we've lost that a fair amount.
Oh, we definitely have. But this movie has, I mean, first of all, General Kale, his mask, that skull mask thing that he wears.
It's so scary.
That is freaky, but I love it. Like, it's such a great look. But man, that's scary when you're a little kid watching this.
Yeah.
We already mentioned the troll. Both the look of the trolls themselves, but then when he transmogrifies it into
a dragon.
I
didn't quite understand it, but it didn't matter. We did magic and things didn't go right.
Right.
And that's fine.
But like that transition, the transition itself was that morphing technology. That looked great. Then it got real gross, and then it gets really scary. Yeah, real gross. There was also
under the water was a good move.
Yes.
Because the bubbling water is always like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah, what's happening?
Now we're in trouble.
And the turning the army into pigs is also one of those scenes that's kind of creepy, a little, especially for young kids.
There,
yeah,
very Greek.
Oh yeah, and just like there's a shot in it in particular. I mean, there's one of Madmartigan where first you see the kind of tusks forming and then like his face changing, but there's another one later on where it's clearly somebody that's like buried up to their chest.
Right.
With the fake body, but it's freaky.
It's so scary. I was like, oh no. And then if you're an adult and you know how pigs are, at the end you're just like, that is an uncomfortable number of pigs. Like pigs are very scary. I do like that the brownies are turned into piglets.
Yes. I liked that. There's two little pigs. Also, trivia states that they were having trouble keeping the pigs from trying to mate with each other. So they were having to use buckets of cold water to keep them apart, which just made me laugh. But yeah, having the brownies turn into piglets was very, very good move. There's a few moments like that. Oh, go ahead.
And it was after that I was like yelling at the movie to hurry up, right? Because the queen's already got the baby on the altar, and they're like having a meeting.
It's got to go in front of committee.
She's gonna transform the pigs back into people. Fine, but maybe we could do like some key ones, and then everybody else can get in line for later. Because right now, the baby is already on the altar. We've summoned lightning. Like, it's go time. And they're like, so groundhogs, though. And it's like, no, no, just go. Just go. Just go.
There was a lack of urgency in that final
There was
act.
a lack of urgency. That's exactly it. There was a lack of urgency. And I was like, we've been real urgent about all of this up until this point.
And now it's just like, oh, we can relax. My only thing I can say is that Raziel knows that this ritual that Queen Bavmorda has to do is going to take like the next 3 days. Like, it's a 3-day ritual.
Sure.
So it's like, we're here, we're fine. She just started. We're good.
Yeah, but
We've
the
got some
baby is
time.
damp.
I know. I noticed that this watch through actually was just the like,
It just
hurry,
rained
hurry,
on
hurry,
that
hurry,
baby.
hurry, and wait. And then that last part, that's
I'm
where
like-
it stretches out a lot because you got the fight in there.
Very.
Yes. But, you know, we got to get
But we
all our
got
moments in.
Which is always good because there's always stairways
Mhm.
and Eric died of a gut wound faster than any human has ever died of a gut wound, and that's fine. Like,
He
yeah,
died of the gut
wait for
wound.
step-
Yeah. Eric died from that gut wound really quick. Meanwhile, Kale took like 5 gut wounds to put him down. Like,
Yeah.
he got hit by a broken sword, a full-on sword, a serrated sword. Like,
Yeah.
that poor dude's innards
tough.
were.
Well, he's got the big eyebrow too.
Yeah.
So he's-
That, by the way, was Pat Roach that played him. That's the big German bare knuckle boxer at the end of
Yep.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, it is.
So
So good.
he 2 very memorable deaths in film.
Yeah.
So, you know. But yeah, it's just I chuckle at the lack of urgency, and yet, like I say, overall, I feel like the pacing's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, you could tighten up that, or if you want it. Like, the thing is, I struggle to wonder what you would cut, because do you cut the stuff on the mountaintop in the snow? Because that's a fun action scene.
Because that was really funny. It was a really funny Matt Mardigan. All right, so first of all, the sledding. Fantasy sledding happens more than maybe it should.
Probably.
But Matt Mardigan winding up in the snowball.
So
like,
that's
I
where
lost it.
this movie like toes the line of being ridiculous, but
Yeah.
somehow it gets away with it when he is rolling down and it's just literally a
Like this
giant cylinder of snow.
cylinder.
I
I was like, oh no. And Willow just shuts the door.
and just shuts the door and waits. But
And
yeah,
then he's like, what happened?
yeah,
Oh,
and he has
good.
no memory of what just happened to him either, which is the best
Yeah.
part. And so they have that nice
And
exchange.
he's doing the stage roll down the hill, which is it's the Princess Bride roll.
Yep.
Like it looks exactly the same because that's the way that you roll down a hill and
Mhm.
don't break anything. Good.
Yep. They were sledding on a shield that
Yep.
looked surprisingly like a toboggan from underneath.
It sure did. But then again, I mean, they don't look that different. It's fine.
I suppose. No, this again. I keep using the word fun, but this is a fun movie. It's a fun fantasy movie.
Yeah.
And you know, I talk about where I just like things. The world building that they did with this. Did you notice, by the way, the one little goof where they had to ADR Warwick Davis when he's giving the baby to Mad Mardigan for the first time, and he says "Goodbye, little one." If you watch it again,
Yep.
when you watch it again, pay attention, because what he says is "Goodbye, Alora." He gives her name, Alora,
Yeah.
whatever. I can't think of it now. But he hadn't heard her name by that point
Right.
in the movie
Right.
because he hadn't met
Right.
Fairy Queen yet. So they had to
Yeah.
let's change that real quick. So it's little one.
Yeah.
I caught that. The music. I love the music in this. It's James Horner score.
The music was good.
And what I like about it is it has that adventurous feel to it. And also James Horner had a tendency to utilize a lot of classical pieces and sort of
Yeah.
integrate those into what he would write, and it works here, I think, really well. And so I wanted to point that out. I liked. This is kind of the era that I really like James Horner's work in this, because he did a couple years after this was The Rocketeer, which I really like the music in The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
And that was The Rocketeer, by the way, was directed by Joe Johnston, who was an associate producer on this movie. Little connective tissue there. But I very much liked the music, and I like James Horner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun adventure. Just kind of, and I like to, again, there's a little bit of reading at the beginning, but just plop us into the story, let that carry it. And then, unfortunately, the movie didn't make like a ton of money, but it was profitable. It did decent internationally on home video, but it went up against, what was it, like Rambo 3 and a couple of other movies that came out right around the same time. So it didn't make a ton of money, which is why we never got a full-on sequel in theaters and movies. I guess George Lucas co-wrote or had co-writing credit on some novels that were supposed to extend the story in the mid to late 90s that were written by Chris Claremont. And apparently Lucas didn't like them. Like, he disowned them. Because they were focused more on the war, and I guess had kind of didn't have the same sort of
the war is happening, but it's not super relevant.
No, it really isn't, especially to this story and kind of this little subset
and
of the
world.
world,
which is like, where we're starting off from. I mean, it matters in that Alora's gonna fix everything when she grows up.
Yeah.
Which isn't that always great?
No pressure.
No pressure. But I mean, it works doing the sequel series now because Warwick was so young.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like he's that much older now, so it's not so bad doing it now.
One more complaint I had, and it's really just Sorsha again as a character. She's not given a whole lot, and then we're supposed to think that she's kind of some sort of a warrior based on how she's introduced. But if you notice in that final battle at the castle, she's just watching Mad Mardigan the whole time. She's not fighting anybody. She's just like staring.
She has her chainmail scarf.
Yep.
And which was weird.
A little bit, yeah. Just a little weird.
She's got her war horse with his feathers, and that's good. But yeah, she doesn't. They didn't give her much.
And I mean, honestly, some of that I can put on the writers is like they just probably didn't know what to write. They didn't know what to do, and so she's just sort of there.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, Leia's not that different. Like,
no, you're not wrong.
She's really not.
She really didn't.
Similar.
She didn't get much more to do until the second movie, and even then, it was still just little pieces. Like, So yeah, I mean that happens. It's just I would have liked more of that, because I think that the idea of the daughter of the queen, the evil queen, and there again though, something that if you took this one story and stretched it out over a short series, then you could have that character and have some reasoning behind why she turned on her mother and started following random dude that she met who accosted her in her sleep. Like, there's no real reason for her to like Mad Mardigan whatsoever, at all. But she just fell for his poetry. So his flowery language.
It's fun because I mean there's only been a few episodes so far, but like they're already taking some of those themes and finding new ways to work them into the sequel series, but they can flesh them out a little better.
So here's a question for you. So you started watching the series. How many episodes of it had you seen before watching the movie?
2.
2. Okay. Do you feel that watching the movie was helpful for the series at all, or do you feel like you could have continued on with the series without having seen the movie and it make no difference?
I'd have picked it up at some point,
Okay.
right? I'd have figured it out, like, because you find out, you meet Alora pretty quick, and you find out that she's real important pretty quick. So I probably would have pieced together everything else. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I would have languished and been like, I don't understand. Like, because it is, like we said, like, it's a little tropey, which is fine. But, as such, it means it's got a lot of, like, yes, I understand how this works. That's fine.
Yeah.
Prophecy, got it. No problem.
Do you feel that seeing the movie helped then? Like,
Yeah.
was it worthwhile?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, like, because, like, I could have told you, like, before, right? I was like, yeah, no, Willow. It's Willow. Matt Mardigan. Yeah, Val Kilmer, yeah. But if you'd asked me what happened, that's where it would have all fallen apart. And so, like, actually knowing and being able to compare, right? Like, where Willow was
Yeah.
before to where Willow is now is pretty vital. Also, like, Warwick Davis was a good actor when he was 18. He
Yeah.
is amazing now.
Well, so that was one of the things I was going to really touch on was, like, he's so good in this at
Really
17.
good.
He definitely is the emotional center of the movie, but he absolutely carries it. You know. And that's impressive to do for somebody as young as he was making this.
Yeah. And especially someone as young as he was, who's not been given a whole lot of opportunity to play other characters with a whole lot of emotional depth.
Yeah. I mean, here he is 17. He's done Star Wars Return of the Jedi would have only been 3 or 4 years earlier.
Right.
It was 83. So he had So before Willow, he had played exactly 2 characters. He had played Wicket.
Yep.
And then Wicket again, and a third and fourth time.
Yep.
And then Goblin Core in Labyrinth.
Yeah.
So he was just a background player in Labyrinth. So, like, this is really the second time he's gotten to do much in the way of acting, and the first time he's really portraying a full character that isn't mute.
Right.
And he just nails it. It's amazing how good he is in this. Yeah. And I've seen him in stuff since then, so I know he's gotten better. So it's really great to hear that he's just even keeps improving.
He's really good. I will say, so the end of the movie, right? Like, they give him a pony and send him on his way. That's great. Very good. He was riding a regular horse earlier.
Was he?
Why didn't we just? He was by himself at one point.
Okay, I'm trying.
And I was
to
just
remember.
like, why did we give him a pony? I mean, it's really cute. I suppose it's more use when he gets home, but
I wonder too if maybe it was because I don't remember him riding the horse by himself. I remember him being on a horse with Mad Mardigan, but I didn't remember him riding
without.
one.
I'm almost positive because Mad Mardigan did something stupid, and he, like, turned around and was like, "What?"
Yeah, I mean,
I forget now.
Mad Mardigan did a lot of things stupid, so I can see that.
I liked that he plowed his farm with a pig.
Yeah, that was great. And of course, where did he get all the seeds? And he's like, my family gathered them in the forest because that's what they do. Who knows?
That's where
Who knows
seeds
where
come from.
Who knows how much of
dude.
that is true? But I liked it. What was I gonna say? I'm trying to remember now. I don't know.
A pony, maybe.
Could have been. I did like that. I thought that was cool, though. They give him a pony. I'm like, oh, they found a willow-sized horse for him. That's great.
The horses in this were great because there was one point where you could tell that it was the good army that was riding towards them because they all had white horses.
Yes.
The shortcuts are very good. Like, it's easy. We don't need to know banners. We don't need to know sigils. We just need to know good guys on white horses.
Yep. Bad guys got black horses, and their horse armor has horns on it.
Yep.
Because Kale's horse had some
horns. It was very good.
I dug that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I did capture some audio because there's some good stuff in this movie,
Yay.
and I figure you would want to hear some of it. So, we're introduced to Willow, and one of the first things he says when he sees that there is a baby, an infant in a basket in the river that his children have found, and his immediate reaction is,
We'll push it downstream and forget we ever saw it.
like,
I mean,
I get it.
it's not the worst idea.
It's not. It's not the
That
worst
baby's
idea at
almost
all.
as big as they are. Like, it's a big baby. Just kick it out of the reeds, and it will be someone else's problem.
We've never seen it, and we don't know anything about it. And apparently, that baby was wearing a wig.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they
that
would-
baby was very much wearing a wig.
And
It was very cute.
they would put the wig on with syrup
Huh.
because the normal stuff was too harsh for their skin.
Yeah.
And it was as is usual. It was twins that played the baby.
Yep.
But there were scenes shot in New Zealand, and so they had some other infants that they
Some
would
other
use.
baby.
Those babies though, those two were
They're real cute.
expressive.
Yep.
Like,
And I mean, so you just think about how much footage there has to have been of just a baby just staring.
yep. Oh yeah.
Right? Like there's just infinite footage of a baby just staring.
Yep. And they never did anything again. This was the only thing they've
Yeah.
made. But it's like that. That's our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Just push the baby down the stream and forget about it. It was never here.
Yep. Not
Let's see. There was. I only captured one of them, but there was 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Wilhelm screams in the movie.
yes, there were.
And I noticed all 3 of them, and I wrote a note to myself on each one.
Mhm.
I'm like, Wilhelm scream. Oh, there's a second one and another.
And there
But I
we
did
go.
capture one because it's right there. You can't not hear it.
So good.
This was also, obviously 88. This was before it was used, overused. And George Lucas was known to use them anyway. So I'm going to capture that
The
when
white
I hear
in this movie. I
it. Boy, did that feel like George Lucas or what?
yes, it did. I was like, can we not though?
He
It was
loves
damaging to cinema.
those
loves the
wipes. Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Let's see. Oh, this is our brownie rule. And now I have that forever, and I need to figure out
Excellent. Very good.
how and when to use it because
Excellent. A+.
it's quite great. I don't remember what this one was, so we'll just listen.
Absolutely, under no condition whatsoever is anyone in this family to fall in love with that baby.
And they're not listening to him at all.
Oh, that's the dad that doesn't want a cat. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
nope,
That's
sorry, my
perfect.
dude.
It's exactly who he is. He's the dad that doesn't want a cat and then ends up falling in love with the cat.
Yeah. they
He
just
didn't
take
want the
naps
baby,
together.
but now we're gonna take care of the
We
baby.
love the baby.
Mhm. Let's see, what's this one?
I don't love her. She kicked me in the face.
Ah, yes. Oh boy, that's
That
so.
line, is so good.
Again, trivia is that he ad-libbed a lot of what he did. That sounds to me like an ad-lib,
It sounds like an ad lib.
and it's so good. It's such a great delivery of that it's a good thing it was a one shot on Val, because I have a feeling that like if that was in a 2-shot, they never would have gotten a take where that worked.
No.
Because you wouldn't have gotten the good enough delivery without Warwick Davis just losing it.
Right.
Because I laugh every time I hear it.
It's very good.
I don't love her. She kicked me in the face.
I got one no. I think this is Queen Bavmorda. And I'm not, well, let's listen.
Is it then?
It probably is.
No.
Yeah. It's when she tells him to bring the baby over, and he
Yeah.
kind of starts to take the
he's
step
like-
and then stops. He's like, no.
No.
It was,
Yeah.
it was the way she reacted to it. That's why I captured it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Mad Mardigan, giving his reason for his he's giving his CV here.
I am the greatest swordsman that ever lived.
All right.
That's all you need.
Yeah, brimming with confidence.
Sure, my dude.
Sure, yeah. More of the brownies.
While you were taking a pee-pee.
Frangine. I stole a baby. So I had 3 different clips to play for the intro to this show today, and one of them was ended with "I stole a baby" as he's flying past.
I am a notorious baby stealer, so I did like that part.
Yeah, but it's just like I recognize you. We stole a baby while you were taking a pee-pee, and that made me laugh because I say that to Bella all the time. Like, you got to go outside. You need to go pee-pee. Yeah. So made me chuckle.
Who's to blame?
That was from the beginning. I loved it because it was Willow saying, like, no, they're going to see the baby as some sort of a bad omen, and they're going to want to blame whoever found it. And it's kind of like, oh, really? Nobody would do that. And then the first thing you hear is, who's to blame?
Yep.
I loved that. So, yeah.
Who's to blame?
And it's perfect old man voice, too. Yeah. So, yeah, those are audio clips from the movie.
Loved it.
So, you got Who's to Blame, and of course...
Yeah!
Oh, that's Willow. It surprised me when you said you hadn't seen this movie.
This is what I'm saying. It surprised me when I said I hadn't seen it, so I suppose that tracks.
But it's definitely one that I feel like holds up. Like, you know, fantasy movies and movies with heavy special effects can be kind of hit or miss sometimes. But they did such a good job of creating a look for this world and then really going with it. So it doesn't have like a overly saturated color palette, and it's not all gray either. Yeah. There's more saturation in the colors and things in the Nelwyn village. Then you get outside of that, and it's a lot of browns and it's a lot of stuff like that, which makes sense. But like, I just liked how everything looked. I liked that there was a good mixture of practical and digital effects that were going on. ILM's always been great at that. But having as simple as throwing a mask on Rottweilers and having them be your crazy animals that just go and the demon dogs, like
the hounds.
It's perfect. That works so well, and that works so much better than trying to come up with some sort of a digital thing that isn't going to age as well.
Right.
Right. But then also leveraging the digital technology where they could, because those animal morphs with Raziel looked great.
When she started turning into the ostrich, I was like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah, because she goes from that possum. It's like an Australian possum, I think.
An Australian possum, yeah.
Also, and I made a note of this.
Good.
That looks so
good. Mouth moving?
Yes.
So good. I was like, how is that so good?
That was on the level of like Babe, Pig in the City, like, and that won an Oscar for special effects for doing that. Now they did it on a ton more, but it really did.
Really good.
Because she goes from the Australian possum to the crow or raven,
who doesn't really, like, she talks, but she doesn't talk.
Yeah, there's no lips.
Then the goat. Yeah.
Yep. Then the goat.
The goat.
Then to an ostrich.
And then there's the ostrich, peacock. I feel like there's tiger.
Yep.
And I was like, we should stop there.
Yeah.
That seems like that could be helpful in this situation.
Very much
That'll
so.
do. That's fine. A tiger could solve a lot of problems right now. And then naked old lady.
Yep. I did really like when the first time Willow has to change her, or tries to, and they're in their cage. And she's like, all right, now you have to concentrate really hard on this and not let anything distract you. And then it's just distraction after distraction after distraction. Like, first it's the brownies coming up. Hey, we're here. Everything's fine now. And then it's like Mad Mardigan.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm a beautiful young woman. And Mad Mardigan's like, concentrate, Willow.
Look, he's been stuck in that cage for a while. He was thirsty in a lot of different ways.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. And now he's stuck in a cage again.
Yeah. I enjoyed the crap out of this movie when I was younger, even though parts of it scared me. But I'm really glad you finally got to see this. I do wonder, do you think the scary, intense parts would have been too much when you were younger for you? knowing
So I don't
knowing
know
you.
because like everybody talks about how much the owl scared them in Nim, and like that never bothered me as a kid. Um, so like I don't know. Young me had like very specific fears, but like the shot in Nim where they like give them the medicine and they start to like transform and stuff that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know.
And like, so
I
that's the
don't
kind of
know.
like, I wonder for younger Amy, would the troll thing have been too gross? Would the skull mask
I
have
don't
been a bit
think
much?
so. The skull mask I think would have been fine, cause like I was really into He-Man, so like a skull face is fine.
Okay.
Like that's fine. That's just a skull face.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think it kind of depends, I guess, exactly when we caught me. Like 1988, I probably would have been too scared. But if we caught me in like the early 90s, probably would have been fine.
And really, honestly, I think because you would have been same age as me, so about 7, 8 years old when this came out. That probably a bit young for it anyway.
Yeah.
Like just in general.
Yeah.
But sort of that kind of 10 years old and on, I think this is a good one. I think this is because I agree, and I talked about this in Dark Crystal review when I did that movie a couple years ago. You know, Jim Henson talking about how it's okay for kids to be a little scared sometimes. Like it's not a bad thing. And I 100% agree with that. So like at 10, 11 years old, seeing this movie and having parts of it that creep you out a little bit. I remember seeing Edward Scissorhands when I was that age, and it being creepy and scaring me a little bit, just from some of the imagery. But
Yeah.
it wasn't anything that was too intense. And I think
No.
that there's a line that you can get to, and this movie definitely finds that. And
Yeah.
the pig transformation being one of them. But then it's able to balance that out with some of the silliness, with the brownies, with Mad Mardigan rolling down the hill encased in snow. You know, him falling over just because he's slipping on ice, like that kind of stuff. So it balances it out, I think, really well. But I think I was surprised, given that I hadn't watched it in a few years, I was surprised with how much I liked the world building and the cleverness of the writing in this for the era that it came out and the type of movie it was, which is very easy in an epic fantasy type setting to overdo your exposition.
Yeah.
And you see it even in big budget stuff. Exposition gets overdone, and you don't need that. You don't need to hold the audience's hand. Just let them figure it out.
Yeah.
So
it's like all the people that like cry that Tom Bombadil didn't make it into the Lord of the Rings. No, that's too much. It's fine in a book, but it's too much.
Yeah.
These movies are already long enough. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Whatever you're putting in your movie, have it serve the purpose of the story being told. If it's not moving the plot forward, if it's not moving the story forward, it probably needs to get cut, especially when you're adapting another form of media.
Yep.
Tom Bombadil is a fantastic character, and I love Tom Bombadil to death. Had no place in that movie and just brings everything to grinding to a halt. So, yes. Is this movie perfect? I don't think so. I think there's things you can expand on, but it's got me excited to watch the series, which I will now be starting. And
Excellent.
And you have already started the series. There's 3 episodes out now?
3 episodes are out right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna go watch those first 2 again now that I do understand where we're starting from.
Would you suggest to people that are going to watch the series to watch the movie first? Regardless, like, do you think it's worthwhile to sort of ramp yourself up for it?
If you're not like, if you're just like, I just want to watch the show with the high budget and the beautiful production and all of the Disney money that you can shake a stick at, like, that's fine. I don't think you need to watch it, especially if you're like maybe not in a headspace for 2 hours and 10 minutes of 1988 magic. Like, that's fine. I understand that. But I mean, it's a cool starting point, and then because there's a fairly decent leap in time between the end of the movie and the start of the series. It's cool to see the kids, right?
Yeah,
because they're still in it, and they were so cute.
I'm glad they brought them back too. That's really cool. it sounds like they're doing a really good. They did the sequel series right, and that kind of legacy carryover.
Dark Crystal did too. The Dark Crystal series is perfection. And there were a lot of people that wanted another series, like another season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, and I understand that. But that was a prequel, and
Right.
knowing what happens in between, I don't know that we really do want it. Like we can let all that happen off screen. That's fine.
Yeah, sometimes it's better. Yeah, sometimes it's better that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. It's good to know. I always wonder when you take a thing like, for instance, an example would be Blade Runner 2049.
Sure.
I don't think you have to watch Blade Runner in order to watch that movie and get all sorts of stuff from it. But I think that it adds to it. I think that if you're already in that headspace and you kind of want more of that world, then you're going to get that. Or if you grew up as a fan of one and you go into watching the other, I think that it can help. But I do like when something like that, especially when 15, 20, 30 years have passed and you don't feel as though you have to watch this in order to understand what's going on at all.
Exactly. And I think that's how they've set this up. Like there's a few clips from the movie in the beginning of the series.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And really, like as soon as you catch up on, oh, the girl, she's special. They're hiding her. Oh no, things are happening. Like, it's fine. Like you're caught up. Congratulations.
There you go. Moving on. Okay.
Yep.
I like that. Very, very cool. Well, Amy, thank you for being here this week.
Well, thank you.
I know it was a little bit on short notice, but I appreciate you you being on.
That's what I'm here for.
It's always fun to talk with you. And
I love being an emergency podcast guest.
It's also great because this is a very different movie from the last couple that we have talked about on this show.
Yes.
Which were sort of the more kind of quirky indie films. This is very much like a big production, fantasy world. So it's nice to vary it up too.
Yeah.
So definitely thank you for being here. You are currently between seasons of Willow, yes?
We are. Season 6 should be starting, and I say this with like giant air quotes around it because who knows what could happen. But it should be coming back in March/April.
Season 6.
That would be very exciting. Season 6.
That's crazy
What?
to think about.
What?
I know.
Let me tell you, I shout out to everybody whose like number one Spotify podcast was Aquilo. Given that we have so few episodes in a year, like thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, it's
especially
because
going up against shows that are like weekly or more.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
You two have created something that has a great feel to it, and it's that combination. It's the combination of the words and the way that they're read, and the life that gets put into them. So it's great writing taken to another level by great performance, and so it makes for a really interesting show. So I like that a lot, and I listen to it a lot myself. Also, you and I do a show together with our friends Stephen and Audie called Those Were the Days, and we are actually recording that again tomorrow night.
Yes, we are.
And that's all about classic TV. That's a fun one, too. If you like television, classic TV, anything 20 years and older, basically, pre-2000. Yeah. If you're old like us, or you just like classics, we talk about it once a week. We come up with different topics. Right now, we're doing holiday episodes. Last week's was fun. The Perfect Strangers, that episode was...
That was very good.
Amazing. We've had some real winners.
I made a Christmas lettuce reference while watching.
Have you been
Willow
smoking grass?
when they started to throw lettuce at poor Willow and her baby in the tavern.
Oh, that's amazing. What is our episode tomorrow? I forget. Now.
Tomorrow is... Hold on. I have this information.
Okay.
Because it's Steven's pick. And it is the Bob Newhart Show.
That's right.
Bob has to have his tonsils out, so he spends Christmas Eve in the hospital, which is the title of the episode, which is crazy.
Such a good title. The title alone.
It's a great
title. So yeah, that's going to be, we're recording that tomorrow night. That'll be out usually out on Tuesdays. Those Were the Days. You can find it at anchor.fm/Those Were the Days shows. If you want to hear more of Amy and I talking with a couple other friends, that's definitely a show to check out,
you
and
can
we
watch
appreciate
us
it.
live
You can.
tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Twitch.tv/2dorks.tv.
That's true. And then Ake Willow will be back at some point in the next few months.
Spring.
Spring. That works.
Spring.
Season 6. Awesome. Very, very cool. And if you haven't listened to Ake Willow yet, catch up on seasons 1 through 5 because it's totally worth it. And you can thank me later. Yes, and the specials. So, yes. And Phil Root in the chat endorses all of these shows. That's right.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. So yeah, that is the show for this week. Willow. I'm so glad that you got to watch this. It's a fun one. Do you think it's one that you'll watch again anytime soon, or maybe show to like friends or family at some point?
Maybe. If I find other people who haven't seen it, like.
Sure.
But I think I'm more likely, because I'm in a TV mindset. I'm more likely to just like start the series over and over again.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next week is to be determined. I am figuring that out. And we're inching ever closer to episode 200 of this show. It's kind of nuts to think about that I'm coming up on 200, and I haven't taken a break yet either. That's the thing, is I've done 200 episodes in 200 weeks. Yeah. I am a crazy person. But that is coming. And next week, keep an eye on Twitter. I'm TV's Travis there. Keep an eye there, and I will let people know what we're watching and who the guest will be. And then September McCready is coming back a couple of days after Christmas. We'll be recording. We're gonna do that. So that'll be fun. And you can find this show at tvstravis.com or search "Wait You Haven't Seen ... and a question mark, because I don't believe in SEO. And that's just how I roll. And anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you can leave a rating and review, those are always helpful. You can also support the show. The show has a Patreon, patreon.com/WYHS. And you can support the show for as little as $1 an episode. So that's, and if you do, I appreciate that. I do have one new patron this week. It is Claire Gack, is a new patron. So a little shout out. You'll be getting a handwritten thank you note sent all the way to Ireland, because that's where Claire is. So very nice. That'll be fun. Definitely. But patreon.com/WYHS. There's also Discord benefits. You can join my Discord, the TV's Travis and Friends Discord, through Patreon. And I will be working on exclusive content for the Patreon feeds, as well as adding things to my YouTube channel at some point. I still plan on doing that. It's just getting it done. It's a lot of work. So that is that's what's happening there. So until next week, and whatever damn movie I'm going to be watching, Amy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And remember to enjoy your movies, and let's be excellent to each other. This has been Wait You Haven't Seen.
Besides, even if we find them, they'll catch us, stick us in cages, torture us, and finally devour us.
Are you suggesting we go home?
Nah, this is more fun.
Oh, Kevin Pollak. Nah, this is more fun.
This is more fun. So Jeff has brought up in the chat the maple syrup strategic reserves, and I think I mentioned on Twitter. But the last time I stayed at my parents', my dad was in the den watching some show on TV. I don't know. And they started talking about the Great Maple Syrup Heist.
Oh,
and I,
yes.
Bed down the hall to be like, let me tell you everything I know about the Great Maple Syrup Heist. I'm an award-winning podcaster who knows all about the Great Maple Syrup Heist.
All about that.
All about it. Literally my greatest contribution.
Hey, and speaking of that, there's Joe Hood. Joe, that is
Oh, hey, what's
Joe,
up?
not that Joe. Oh, yeah, Brian, I don't know if you're still there,
we
but
need to talk about the Quebec maple syrup mafia. Can we talk about the Quebec maple syrup mafia in the context of Willow? Because I feel like that's got legs.
oh man, yeah, it does. Okay, Brian is there. So yeah, you happen to come in right towards the end of the show. So sorry about that. I had a little wrapping up to do, but thank you for the raid. It was awesome.
Yeah,
You're great. What were you playing tonight, Brian? I'm sure you were doing some play
I
retro.
couldn't tell you. It was wild. It was wild what I saw. Like I opened it and then I was like, I don't know what's happening. But I was into it.
Retro Christmas video games. Oh boy.
There was some sort of dancing thing. Like there was anime girls kind of but they were very blocky. It was very good.
Well, last week was all Dragon Warrior Dragon Quest, which
that was a good one.
Had me kind of jittering for I'm like, am I going to start playing Dragon Warrior now? It happens a lot. I get these I watched when I was watching the Game Awards and all the stuff for God of War Ragnarok, and I'm like, kind of want to play God of War now.
I want to play more Cult of the Lamb.
Christopher Judge is still giving his acceptance speech.
Yeah, he's still up there. There's no one the janitor has come by with the broom, but he's still up there.
I made the comment earlier when we were doing race day, are you going to tell Teal'c to get off the stage? Because I'm not.
No, just
I don't want none of that smoke.
That's fine.
Watched Final Destination 2 on Friday, and the guy that's in one of the actors in Final Destination 2 was the original voice of Kratos.
Oh.
T.C. Carter, I think is his name.
Yeah.
So it's here's the original voice of Kratos, who also very, very deep commanding voice. And then you just transition to Christopher Judge, you're not taking a step back there. Not at all.
No.
Christmas Nights into Dreams on the Saturn. Oh boy.
It was a lot. That was literally my first thought was this is a lot.
So I don't know, Brian, if it's ever come up for you in any kind of retro gaming thing, but at some point you have got to at least talk about Hong Kong 97.
Oh,
because if you've never seen that game before, it's it's something. And Sonic Team, fast and loud, faster, more intense. Oh
boy.
Yeah, now I want to watch the Willow series though. I'm definitely going to be starting that one.
Yeah, you gotta. It's gonna be good.
It is.
Did you watch Dark Crystal?
I did, and I want to watch it again.
It's real good.
Mm-hmm. Just because, puppets, Muppets, all that stuff. Hong Kong 97. Yes. It's, I should find the Angry Video Game Nerd talking about Hong Kong 97.
I saw that's the first thing when you Google. It is literally the first one.
His video is more well-known than the game.
Yeah.
But, you want ranty video game content, he's your guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Some of it's good, some of it's a little much, but overall, I don't hate his stuff.
Yeah.
I like, because he just gets so frustrated with, aspects of classic games. And it's a shtick. And kind of when you figure that out, and you kind of understand where the jokes are going to come from, you can enjoy those a little bit more.
I have little patience for that sort of thing.
But there's something, I don't know, there's something he does that's better about it than say Angry Joe, which is another video game reviewer that gets mad at games a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I started watching his Tonda's not into AVGN. That's fair.
Yeah.
I do really like when he's not playing that character. He does reviews of stuff and movies as well. He's got his whole channel is called Cinemassacre. And he has a review show that's him and 3 other guys, and they'll talk about some old movies that they would rent And so it's all set. It's made to look like a video rental store where they're sitting around chatting, and it's good because he really does know his stuff, and his film reviews they're not that character at all. So it's just him talking about stuff, and it's quite a bit better.
My first apartment on my own was within walking distance, like right next door to the apartment complex was a strip mall that had a Blockbuster in it, and that I was living the dream. Had a Blockbuster and a Fuddruckers, and that was a Friday night.
Yeah, we had from the house. So when I came back from Florida, a couple of months later, I moved in with a friend of mine. Two of us moved in to his house because his mom was moving out and moving to Ohio. And so he was like, well, the place is still rented through like the end of the summer. You guys want to move in? So we moved in there. And then when that lease was up, we all moved into downtown and rented a house. And 3 blocks from our house was a Family Video.
Nice.
So that was our Bad Movie Sundays. We would walk down to the video store and search around and find the worst movies we could and then take them home and sit around eating whatever pizza or whatever food we wanted and watching the worst of the worst.
I don't want to alarm anyone, but right now, for a mere $2,500, we can purchase a vintage original Grimace costume.
Really?
Fair condition, couple of holes near the left armpit. That's fine. We can fix that. This thing is a freaking nightmare. Oh my God.
I mean,
join me with this. Join me, everyone. This
it
is
does
terrifying.
kind
This
of
is the worst thing in the world. This is the worst thing.
I mean, are we talking like on the level of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, that's the problem because it's in much better condition.
Oh my!
And yet I told you.
What is happening?
I don't know what's up with his eyes.
There's
like
so much condensation inside those eyes.
There's like moss in there.
What?
There's like lichen. There's a complex ecosystem in his eyes.
And yet, I want it, but I don't want that. I just want like a version of it. Why did I think Grimace had legs?
Now I need to look because I also So if you look, if the eBay, there's like a little there's a vintage '76 toy that's only got little feet underneath.
Huh. The eyes are freaking me out though.
They're really scary.
I don't like it.
There you go.
I need to close that window. It's scaring me.
Have nightmares. Enjoy it.
Where are the legs? I mean, it's true. Where are they?
Wait. So apparently,
maybe I'm conflating Grimace with Snuffleupagus.
No, it looks like he got legs at some point.
Okay. It was when he had gastric bypass. He lost a bunch of weight.
So it looks like 1986 is where he became a little less awful.
Okay.
I now know more about Grimace than I really wanted.
You know more about Grimace than anyone really wanted to. So, let's be real. Oh, Joe's trying to put a link in there. Sorry, Joe. It's gonna sanitize your link. You're not a mod. I apologize. But yeah, that's gonna do it for tonight. I am going to call it an evening so that we all can get some sleep because I know I have work in the morning. You have work in the morning.
I have a manic week.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Do you have this week and next week for work before your little vacation, or are you off the week before Christmas?
I am off the week before Christmas.
Ooh, look at you. Working a retail job where you don't have to work Christmas Eve.
Or talk to customers.
That's like the dream right there.
They send us emails, and then we talk snarky about them, and then we reply very nicely to them and fix their problems.
Boy, that sounds a lot like my job.
Talking to you, Sandra. Thank you, Kit. I'm very proud of that quote. I did it real fast. The kit is selling very well, and I'm happy that it is because I feel like I helped.
Well, I'm sure because they got to see what the finished kit looks like. Very cool. So you have a manic week, huh? You got a lot going on?
Yeah. So basically, right? That quilt was part of the specials, the 12 Days of Christmas specials,
Uh-huh.
which ended on Thursday. And this whole weekend has been last call because you could buy a box
Okay.
at the beginning and then not pay for shipping on your subsequent orders, and it just all goes into a box. And so that you're not paying for shipping every single day.
Gotcha.
And so now all those boxes have to go out this week.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I know a thing or two about that. When I started at this company that I'm at, one of my big projects was I had to pack and ship one of our clocks. And I was explaining to the guy that does it now, I'm like, I understand that you do more than one thing throughout the day, but just remember that back when I was doing this, it was 30 plus per day that I had to pack and ship. I'm like, now if I have 2 of them, it takes me like an hour to do 2 of them. I was doing 30 plus in a day, and that was building them as well as packing them and shipping them. The only thing different was I didn't have to drive somewhere to drop them off. I could just, but I didn't have a good elevator, and I had a crappy cart, so I would just load them onto the cart and then go down the elevator and put them out front of our building next to the UPS box. There would just be a stack of cardboard boxes next to it.
I got 61 orders out the other day. I think my peak has been, I think my peak was like 103.
Whew.
When I left on Thursday, there were 407 orders in the queue. So,
yeesh. All right. Well, yeah, you've got a week.
I was stressed about it, and Allison's like, everything's great, and I was like, okay.
Well, it's probably from her perspective. She's like, hey, this is better than what I had going. So, because she doesn't have to do it all now.
Oh, she tells me that all the time. So that's good.
All right. Well, chat. Thanks for hanging out, Mr. Dunaway with the raid. We got a follow. I missed who it was that followed, and I have trouble seeing it.
It's gone now.
It is, but thank you to whoever followed. Hey, Sean, how's it going? Kit was here. We got a Joe Hood. JF stopped by. Phil Rude.
Hero.
You guys are all wonderful. So quick.
Have you been smoking grass?
Hey, and a follow from the Seancaster. To let everybody know, this week, obviously tomorrow is going to be Wait You Haven't Seen It, Two Dorks TV. Tuesday, Audie and I are wrapping up our recap of Season 5 of Highlander for Let's Watch Highlander, which will be the calm before the storm that is Highlander the Source. So catch us Tuesday or this week while we still have the will to live and do the show. And then in a couple of weeks on New Year's Eve, I will be part of the Diamond Club Streamathon. In the morning, it'll be like 10:30 a.m. to noon 30 on New Year's Eve. I will be part of that, and we're raising money for My Extra Life.
Nice.
So definitely come hang out for that. Grim Auction. Oh, okay. Sorry. That was the thing you sent. But yeah, so lots of fun stuff coming up. And, of course, gaming. I'm slowly making my way to 100% on Batman Arkham City. I've been doing some...
angry about a lot of it.
I took my frustrations out by doing some stuff off stream. That is the more frustrating parts, which helps. So I actually have almost all of the Riddler trophies found.
Excellent.
So... Alrighty, but that's going to do it for tonight. So thank you, Amy, for being here, hanging out with me. Thank you all in the chat for being here. You're great. And we'll catch you tomorrow night for Those Were the Days. Until then, bye, everybody.